WCLN 1170 Radio and Cable Channel 16 are pleased to present We Should Know, hosted by J.W. Simmons, an upbeat, informative look at people, places, and issues facing our community. This education-based analysis of issues will remain positive and informative as we consider closely what we should know.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Thank you for being with us today. We Should Know is on there Tuesdays, each and every Tuesday. Star Communications, Channel 16. Also, WCLN Radio, there's a summation in the Sampson Weekly newspaper. And hopefully in one of those particular venues, you'll figure out what we're talking about, how it affects you, and the impact on your life. That's one of these shows that we're doing today, is some people that stepped up, some people that's been involved in this particular business for, I will say, decades. Some others that's relatively new on board, but two of those folks that are board members for something called Sampson Partners is with me, and one of those is Johnny Pridgen. The other is Dr. Paul Viser. Both names are highly recognized in the community, gentlemen. And Johnny, I want to start with you. This whole issue of, and I'm going to call it helping people before they go down the drain sometimes, started way back with a fellow by the name of J.C. Pridgen, which you're pretty close to.
Yes.
Your dad kind of kicked this in gear, or was instrumental in that.
Yes.
Tell us how that came together, and what do you remember about that period of time?
That period of time, pretty much under the leadership of the Clinton Ministerial Alliance, pretty much started a soup kitchen at the Episcopal Church located on West Main Street in about 1985. Out of that, they basically was once a week serving individuals who were in need of food and things of that nature. And eventually what evolved was the organization under Lee Pridgen, the United Churches of Sampson County, and he was very instrumental in organizing from the Clinton Ministerial Alliance, organizing what we come into today, pretty much. He first board, and we have many churches here under the Ministerial Alliance that were instrumental in providing support, and it eventually come down to about 5, as I can remember, one of them being First Baptist Church at 900 College Street and First Baptist Church at 408, and several others, including the Episcopal Church that helped form the board there with Lee Pridgen as its first director.
This has been a historical trilogy in a way of moving together with multiple kinds of assets in the community. And it seems, just from what I can read and listening to folks, it came with that one purpose of literally trying to help your neighbor in a way and at a time that there was no other resources.
That's it.
And it's worked for these years. So it's relatively a simple thought process to put it into gear and move it forward. As you remember it from that point in time, obviously, like I am in 1985, I was a much younger man, the idea that food was something people needed was pretty strong. Today, we've changed the terminology a bit, and we don't say people are hungry, they're food deprived or some other term that we use. But the reality is that still exists, doesn't it?
It certainly does. Matter of fact, you'll find that First Baptist Church at 900 College Street runs a food bank, which is an extension from the program that we had also under the Sampson Crisis Center. We located, once we came out of the church, we located at on on Sampson Street, where the Miss Mildred Powell donated her building there. And that's when the organization, and that's when they concentrated pretty much on the food operation, asking for donations by way of food and things of that way. Then once a week they would start the distribution of food out into the local community and so forth.
Well, you've added some, I'll say, some extra weight for heavy lifting. Dr. Paul Viser stepped into the picture. Paul, kind of tell us what you saw, what was the little spark or the little reflection that caused you to look twice at this organization and say, I might want to be part of something. Just kind of tell us viscerally, inside, what caused you to kind of engage in that? Because anytime anybody gets involved with giving and charitable stuff, that's heavy lifting.
Well, thank you, J.W. There are actually 2 phases. The initial phase was when I was still in my 30s and a new resident in Sampson County, and Bill Fulton, who had been on the original board since 1986, was looking to take a siesta from the work that he was doing for Sampson Crisis Center, and I took his place to represent Gray's Memorial Presbyterian Church, which, as with Johnny's church, was one of the founding churches. Back then, Leighton McKeithen was our pastor. So I had a history from way back, as did Johnny and Johnny's dad. And that went on for years. I became a bit less active in about 2012 or so, and as you know, then there was that period that between 2014 and 2018 that just the thrift shop was in operation. That the former structure was kind of in limbo as we were. Actually, it was Johnny and his former pastor Thomas Farrow, and they did it. They did a wonderful job for 4 years, and then last summer, the July of 2018, I was not active at that time, but Johnny called together people who had been active in the past, and certainly that included me and some others as well, and it was time to regroup. And that's the way Johnny presented it to us. Reverend Farrow was in Charlotte at the time, so it was just Johnny presenting this information. And I was just floored by the success of the ongoing business model of running the thrift shop. I mean, when Johnny called us together, he had $160,000 in the bank. The organization did.
Wow.
$160,000 and making money every month, a good base of volunteers, which, make no mistake, is the backbone of our business success. So many people who contribute to our organization do it for nothing. You know, they give their time for nothing. Johnny and I give our time for nothing, but lots of other people do the same thing.
Johnny, what was going on at the time that you felt it was necessary to get everybody together and say, look, there's something else has got to change here? Was this a time for you that you could see a need for redirection, for different involvement, restructuring? I mean, clearly it don't sound like the financial issue was a concern.
No, it wasn't, JW. What was the motivating, well, the catalyst that started it was when Reverend Farrell was the executive director. I worked with him, and then he took a position in Charlotte. So at that time, that's required us to really look at it. He was the executive director, we no longer had an executive director. So then at that time, I was looking at, well, what course can this organization, who has survived for a number of years, continue to take? And as Dr. Viser pointed out, is when I called many of the past presidents, and that included Mr. Willie Mitchell, Ms. Peggy Melvin, and then the last secretary was Rhonda West, and everything. A meeting, presented the data, and we charted out a new course of action, that was presented to the board. One was we could fold in another organization, and assets go to another organization, or we can restructure. And overwhelmingly and very quickly, they decided, so let's restructure and go on, because we were solid financially. Things were moving over 4 years. We had to make some real hard decisions initially, and that was to terminate a portion of what we were doing in direct client involvement, and that is the individuals in the community. And from that time, it's been even moving faster with Dr. Viser as our president and everything.
Well, Paul, you mentioned in a previous conversation we had that when you saw what the money that had been raised, the enthusiasm of the folks that were working there, a number of other traits, it was like a no-brainer for you. This could not go away.
JW, it was stunning. It was truly stunning. This organization sitting on $160,000, looking for a new direction from a position of financial strength and a business model that's working, lots of eager volunteers, and lots of need in Sampson County. I said, we can't walk away from this. I mean, this is, and it's too big for one person. You know, Johnny couldn't do it by himself, and he plainly stated that. This takes a team. And right now we have a team of about 25 people right now, counting our volunteers who work as though they were on the payroll. I mean, with a loyalty that you just wouldn't believe. And we've seen new energy for people who have been active in the past, and new needs in Sampson County. And it's just staggering to me where we were in July of last year and what we're reaching for now. I mean, we have big plans. I mean, we're doing great now, and we think we're going to do even greater just in the next few years.
Johnny, I want to ask this question before we go to break. We're going to go to break in just a second, but I want to kind of get this in if I can. As you got to that point that you felt like something had to be done, and obviously I think we've covered that, but did you get a sense in looking back at your dad and thinking what he'd done, and all of a sudden you're kind of at that same place, and this organization, you're trying to hold it together, but as the old saying goes, sometimes you need a sign. I guess what I'm asking is, when did you get that sign, and when was it clear you were going to hold it together?
Well, it was clear when we were going to hold it together after we called the previous chairmans in, and we presented that information. At that time, it was, like I say, overwhelming. It was a no-brainer. It was let's go for it, and it's just a matter of restructuring the leadership, and that's what we're doing at that time. Now, I wouldn't say I faced any type of major issue, because I'm going to tell you, just like Doc said, we have the best group of people working. We only have 2 paid supervisors who work part-time. The rest of them are volunteers. And on top of that, the enthusiasm from the community goes without saying. For example, we have 2 ways. One is those that make donations, and then the others that come in and buy steadily increase.
And that buying piece, I think, is what kept you survivable, and that cash flow that, Paul, you spoke about, that was so critically important once you saw that. What I want to do is kind of maybe segue to a break now, so I don't have to interrupt you guys, but when we come back, I want to take it from that point and start moving forward now and give folks a feeling of the footing that's moved from that 160,000 to the footing that you're dealing with now, and then maybe the next break we'll kind of get into where that future is. Okay. But this is truly the community speaking, and I sense that when I get around you guys. You know, God's working here. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in a moment.
Experiencing slow internet? If you have a fast internet package, the problem is most likely your wireless router. With more devices using Wi-Fi, your wireless router may not be able to deliver the speed and coverage you need. We now have the leading solution to enhance your internet experience. Using small devices in a mesh network, these Wi-Fi appliances cover just about any size home, so that all your devices can operate to their fullest potential. Whole home Wi-Fi from Star Communications. Get the most out of your internet connection.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Thank you for being with us. We've got a couple of guests with us. A subject that's critically important to everybody. It's when you need help and there's nowhere else to reach, and the only thing you can do is drop to a knee maybe and reach up. Johnny Pridgen is with us, and Dr. Paul Viser. Johnny, we talked about your dad. We talked about the kind of the beginning process of this organization. It's now called Sampson Partners. It has got a long history of faith, churches. It's got a long history of some very important people and leaders in this community we call Clinton and Sampson County here. Paul, you mentioned that the important part for you was that you saw a pretty straightforward and simple business model.
Yeah, thank you for asking that. I get asked that all the time. I just assume people know our business model, but it is very simple. We run a thrift shop. Simply that. People donate the things that they no longer need. We get good things, clothing and furniture, good things. And they donate their things. We run the thrift shop, and we do it profitably. Selling shirts for $1 a piece, pants for $2 a piece, we can make money doing that because so many of the people who work at the thrift shop are paid nothing. They're happy to do it. We all are.
And the generation for a lot of this giving stuff could be, just so folks will understand, could be somebody decides, well, you know, I need to scale down in my life a little bit. I need to get rid of some stuff. Or it could be just a case of, and of course people can, you know, accept this if they want to. If they don't, it could be somebody else, you know. But it could be just somebody just hoarded all their life and decided, well, you know, I need to do something. You know, and think about it. You know, we've seen a lot of that, haven't we, in our lives. We've seen that. So I'm going to give it to somebody, and from that, you know, a dollar or two a piece on something that might have been $75 or $150.
Trust me, it adds up, and we have the data to show it. Johnny does a meticulous job of keeping the financials. That's his huge job. It's a daily job. And it's amazing to see that at $300, $400 a day in gross receipts. You'd say, well, gosh, what can you do with that? Well, trust me, you can accumulate $160,000 real fast. Now, we're not an investment company, though. We're excited about giving away the money. And our disbursement model is also quite simple. We give to nonprofits within Sampson County, just that. And so it's just one county. We are usually pretty close to the people we're supporting, our organizations, I should say, that we support. We don't do direct person disbursements. That can be more difficult from a tax standpoint, but there are plenty of organizations who are doing the vetting, United Way and Tim's Gift and the Salemburg Food Bank and UCare, you know, they're doing the vetting. And we simply provide financial support. So that's our business model. We run the thrift shop, we disperse to organizations within Sampson County, and we do not have a formalized program for evaluating the organizations. Most of these we're so close to anyway. We work with them anyway. We don't need anything except what's your address and where do we send the check.
Jim, over a period of, and we'll go back to the 80s again and now, what have you seen has changed, or has there been no change in what people really need when they're, the phrase would be in dire straits, when things has gone bad, maybe the rent's 2 months past due, you know, you think about food, but then just the ability to be able to hold yourself together to even look a job. What are the kinds of things you see go through that shop that people come in and they're reaching for?
Now, I'm trying to understand when you say that.
Yeah, like for the person that may be shopping, that may be in a bad situation, they want to buy something. What is the kinds of things they look for?
Oh, clothes and so forth. Now, we
clothes
also,
primarily?
Clothes primarily. Yeah. Now, what we do is we do some direct contributions. For example, if we've had hurricanes, tornadoes, or fire, we just ask them to come there and we can provide them at no cost whatever items they need as it relates to food, you know, and things of that nature.
So you work with them individually?
If they come in and provide what the situation is, and then we have a form we fill out and they give them the items that they need, pretty much, you know. And that is children's items, young adults, and even grown individuals, because we have a wide range of clothing there at that operation. But that's something I want to get out to the community, that you don't have to go anywhere. You can just come to us if you had a fire, or we'll search you out, you know, because that's usually in the newspaper and that type of thing. And of course, during the hurricane, we were able to really work with United Way in providing resources that they had. We made large contributions to United Way financially and so forth. And then on the medical standpoint, we have a working relationship with the Tim's Gift, because they pretty much are involved in handling medical situations. So any items that we get, and we get a lot of items, supplies and so forth that are not outdated and so forth, we just make a direct contribution to them to handle that. Now, when you mention other things such as rent, that's usually through social services and things of that nature, because we used to do that. They come in and apply and so forth, electrical, utilities, and things like that. Most of that is done, and we were kind of duplicating, but they're set up to really go through the paperwork and get the process, and it's just easier for us to provide the funding, some funding to assist them.
For folks that are listening to the show or watching you guys today, what would you say to churches out there as a whole? We got a lot of steeples in Sampson and surrounding counties.
We have 250 in Sampson County.
He's already zeroed in on my question here. What do you say to those folks as it relates to what you guys are doing? Because I hear churches sometimes say, well, you know, I kind of like to help that person, but I really wasn't sure whether they were just trying to, you know, defraud me or something. But you guys do the vetting and everything. I mean, basically they just say, we want to donate and help us look after so and so.
We're not in the business of vetting individuals,
right?
And we're actually counting on them to do more of that. We did that in the past.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a difficult challenge, and sometimes feelings get hurt. Tone of voice might not be exactly right. And
well, it's very, very tender.
People are in a tender state of mind, and it's a difficult job. And we decided we're pretty good at running the thrift shop. I mean, Johnny and Thomas Farrow proved that, and all the volunteers proved that. So we said, let's just buckle down and just focus on the thrift shop.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Let other people. Johnny mentioned hurricane relief. United Way handled. They already had the machinery in place.
Exactly.
And we provided financial support.
Exactly.
So we're going to do what we do best, and we're going to let other people do what they do best, and we're going to provide financial support for it. And it doesn't require a formal process. I mean, make the needs known to us, and sometimes that's all that's needed.
And it's a simple process in the sense that if somebody is one of those folks that's got some items that you just need some more room in your house or whatever, they can call either one of you guys and say, look, I don't know whether you're interested, but if you could come and take a look, if this is something you can use. Do you ever get that kind of call?
Yes, and that's where we do some vetting because what we don't want is
I call my junk off kind of thing.
No, we don't want somebody's refrigerator that hasn't worked.
Yeah.
And we do have to do a walkthrough, but I can tell you that there's an unlimited supply of very good, unneeded things in Sampson County. We don't need, and we don't get offered things that are not of some value.
Exactly.
It doesn't come up very often. People give us good things. And when we get this new building occupied, we hope by the end of the year, 4,000 square feet, we're going to be able to do a much better job of receiving, displaying, and selling large items such as furniture.
There's a couple of buildings. I want to try to get folks acclimated to where we're talking about now. There's a thrift shop right there on College Street.
Well, it's actually on West Main is technically what it's on.
Called West Main. Okay, then across the parking lot there, there's an empty building. A new cement floor has been poured, and then there's a shop beside of that.
Okay. All right, the original building is 6,000 square feet, give or take. A fourth of that space is currently occupied by the Child Advocacy Center. They are renting from us.
That's where people, I think, is getting confused.
Okay, well, let me explain. So we need that space, and we've been in conversation with them for some time, and their lease runs out September 30th. So we will occupy that space on October the 1st, as we had for decades prior. They've been our tenant now for, I think, around 3 years or a little less than 3 years.
That's a good program, by the way.
Oh, it is a good program.
Excellent.
And we're proud that we've served as an incubator for that program, which just split off from, they were part of county government, and then now they're an independent nonprofit, and we were proud to be an incubator for them. But we're desperate for that. Every square inch in that space we're desperate to have. And we wish them well. We've contributed to them by offering them, I mean, they've been there paying $400 a month rent, a below market rent, by about 50% really. And we hope that's been helpful. We hope that they're ready to kind of go out on their own. And
but you'll still have some of that same merchandise if it's for kids and that kind of thing. They could go, if somebody needed that, they could go to the thrift shop and find that.
Yeah, the Child Advocacy Center, of course, is primarily a legal entity where they deal with children. And well, I guess they would be better able to speak to that, but it involves helping children who have been in distressed circumstances, and they bring together all the various entities,
foster care, and
law enforcement, and all that, and try to shield the children from having to go through that multiple times. So it's a very noble mission that they have, and I'm hoping fervently that they continue to do well.
Yeah. That's a key piece, I think, for folks to understand. Again, back to that networking that you guys have done, and the relationship you have with other organizations, the nonprofits and churches. That it is kind of it's almost like the hub of a wheel. It's a supportive entity to a number of different organizations, and you hope to expand on that and make that a key part of it. So I think when we come back from this break, maybe we can talk a bit about that and the folks that maybe you hadn't touched that you would like to engage as we go along. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take another break. We're talking with Johnny Pridgen and Dr. Paul Viser. We're talking about the Crisis Center, talking about Sampson Partners and ways that you can get involved. So call a friend, stay tuned. We'll be back in 1 moment.
You come out to replace a bad sensor, and that adds a 5-year commitment to my contract, and you don't tell me? Here's your sign.
Switch to the sign that's keeping homes secure and customers happy all over the area. Security from Star Communications. We pride ourselves on fair pricing and quick, friendly service every time.
Somebody try to break into this place?
Security from Star Communications.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Thank you for being with us today. I want to remind you, you can reach us via email at weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. That's weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. Snail mail is Post Office Box 1482, Clinton, North Carolina. Just drop your letter or your note, suggestion, comment about a show. We enjoy hearing from you and also giving us some direction for the future. We're talking about folks in need today. Organization's been around since in the 80s. Johnny Pridgen, you and your family have been engaged with it a long time. Dr. Paul Viser, you've been involved in it by your own testimony. Once you got to Clinton, back in the 80s, you stepped in that door, and for some reason you got energized even more powerfully in the past few months. So what's going on over there now? When you look at that space we talked about, and we've kind of given people an acclimatation of where you are, what's going on now that's spinning?
Well, I'll let Doc talk about that pretty much, you know, because as the president, and he has a vision that we've shared together and everything, we're looking at expanding. So he's going to get particularly into some things that we're looking forward to.
Okay.
We like visions.
Well, certainly on May 1st, just barely a month ago, downtown Clinton was dominated by a concrete pumper truck going up 70 feet in the air and pouring our great poured concrete foundation. You know, many of the buildings downtown have crawl spaces, which you can imagine how difficult it is to work with an 18-inch, 24-inch crawl space. But anyway, that was a glorious day. And what we're doing is we're adding 4,000 square feet to our operation, give us a total of almost 11,000 square feet, which we will be occupying fully by the end of this year. I mean, we're talking 6 months from now, we're going to be in 11,000 square feet instead of what we have right now, which is about 4,500 square feet. When we claim the Child Advocacy Center space, and when we get our new building space, we will more than double what we are currently operating on. So we're really excited about that. Now, and we're also excited, I want to emphasize something that maybe people don't know. We have been raising money for the building. It's a $400,000 investment in downtown Clinton, and that's a serious investment. You don't often see a nonprofit step up and just stick their necks out and say, okay, we think this is a go. We think this will be a service to this county for decades to come, and we can do this thing, and that's what we've done. And we're still making disbursements to nonprofits in Sampson County. We're not hoarding our money to pay for that building because we're not in the building business. We see that building as a tool. We're completely confident that it's going to be a great tool, and other people, we're just confident that that it's going to return investment in a big way. And so we're still making disbursements because that's what we do. That's what we're in the business of. As I said, that's our business model, and we're not stopping that. We're not even slowing it down, because there are enough people out in Sampson County who are supporting us, and there are a lot more who have spoken and just haven't written the check yet. We know it's coming in, so we're going full speed ahead. We're going to occupy that building by the end of this year. It will be paid for by 1 year from today, in July 2020. It will be paid for, debt-free, and then we'll look to our longer range things. For example, to do some renovations that are essential to comply with law with our existing buildings. They're out of code, single pane, massive sheets of glass front those buildings. That all needs to change. The floors are spongy, but the walls are good, and and the roof is good. So,
that's the good news.
So
Yes.
we think we can handle those renovations in cash flow once we're in full operation with our 11,000 square feet. So we're excited about that. This is something else that we're real excited about. We're in negotiations with a major entity in Sampson County. I can't name it yet, to rent and occupy 1/3 of our new building space. And we're excited about that because it's within the definition of our mission as a Christian organization. It's an organization we want to be a part of, just like we've enjoyed being a part of Child Advocacy Center. But this one's bigger and has a far reach beyond county, actually. We hope to be able to make an announcement within a month or two, and they're going to help us with the initial payment of the building, and then we're going to work something out with them that makes sense for them as well. So we're excited about that, and that will diversify our income stream, and it will also give us just a vital partnership. You mentioned partnership earlier. I mean, that is key, this networking and partnerships, where we reinforce each other's missions. And I'm just real excited about it. I'm just busting at the seams to make an announcement, but we're not quite at that point yet. I want to mention that we're looking, as we reconfigure our board of directors and looking for certain skill sets that conform with what we're reaching for. And I just want to mention those. We're looking for a director of furniture operations. We have a couple of people interested who have worked with us, but we need somebody to handle that because that's going to be a big part of our organization.
What kind of skill set are you thinking?
Just organizational. I don't mean strong.
You don't necessarily have to be in furniture busince or anything of that nature.
No.
Okay.
No. We just need somebody to handle the logistics of our furniture operation. And we're eagerly and actively seeking somebody to do that. And that would be a director level position. We don't have an executive director.
Right.
Our business model organizationally is that we will have 6 board members, each handling a major chunk of our operations. And the ones that need to be filled and we're seeking right now, even among our current directors, we're seeking Director of Furniture Operations. We're also seeking Director of Outreach and Community Relations, and by that I mean we get calls all the time from high schools, Girl Scout troops, various groups who want to do volunteer work, want to be a part of what we're doing, and that involves logistics and organization, and we need one of our directors to handle that, and so we're seeking that position. And then big, but also mostly logistical, and that's Director of Communications. You know, we have a website. We are active on Facebook. We've talked about eBay, but those things can greatly multiply everything that I've said here this afternoon. Yeah. And we need somebody to handle that. So that's the way we see our board existing in the future, in the very near future. You know, where we have the major components of our organization divided up in 6 different categories, and people who, with passion and energy and competence, see those departments themselves. So, and without paying an executive director, you know, that money goes back to the county nonprofits because we don't have an executive director.
That's unusual and probably outstanding when you look at cash flow. I said a lot of organizations will not function without that.
Well,
we won't even talk about some of the salaries of some of those positions either. But what I hear you saying is that this thing is moving forward fast, and it's just kind of opening up like a flower, real aggressive. Johnny, does that kind of give you any pause because you've been kind of hands on the stirrups for some time here now? Does that give you any kind of pause? Wait a minute, where are we headed?
Well, you know, it's just like as Doc was talking about the vision. You look out there and there's so much possibility as it relates to fundraising, and also you see the need in our county, you know, among the citizens. In August the 1st, when we restructured here of last year, and the decision was made, it was immediately thereafter things started really moving. For example, we purchased the property right next door. Didn't have to, because of our reserves and things of that nature. And the people were most cooperative in working with us in the acquisition. They had other plans, but they gave way to their plans to sell it to us because they saw our mission. They saw what we were doing in the community, the impact that we were doing. And then from then on, we were able to negotiate and hire the local contractor. We were trying to keep as much within the county as possible. And you see what's going on, as Doc described there, as it relates. We got the cement now. We're looking at the walls and everything being fortified and the roof coming on and the expansion, because we need that space. I don't know, and we invite people to come. It is kind of congested in there when we have so much clothes. JW, we have tremendous clothes, and Lord knows we have furniture that we had to go on an off-site location to start storing stuff because people were giving so much furniture, for example, from estates. Yeah. From estates is picked up, and we're concentrating on that, you know, and that is usually some beautiful furniture and items that they donate because the families already got plenty of stuff, and they just said, well, here's something we're going to give to the local community because they believe in what we're doing and so forth. So that has been a great help to us and everything, and that's why we need that space so bad to kind of help when people come in. Now, people don't understand, we use the term thrift shop, and we've changed the name because we changed the name from the Sampson Crisis Center to Sampson Partners Incorporated. Right. We also don't use the word thrift shop. Right. We use shop on Main. There you go. And it goes both ways for the city and so forth, you know, to bring people in and everything. So that's what we need, and thank you.
And the psychology of it, I think, is right on point, is that you get people in a different mindset. You know, it's not like something somebody's thrown away. As we all know, you got to keep your eye on that. It's something of high quality and high demand.
Yes.
So I want to kind of, on our last segment, I want to try to get back to where we're going. And you've already mentioned in a year there's going to be a huge, significant change down there because you're going to be way down the road. That's going to be an opportunity. The folks that can participate now, the people you're looking for, let's touch on that again at the second half, because I think when I hear furniture and logistics, I also hear that it's going to take some folks with some strong backs too. So, you know, you don't want, but you got to have that kind of thing if you're going to be moving furniture around. So we'll talk about that when we come back. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We're coming on our last segment here. We're talking about Sampson Partners, whole new name, whole new movement, serving the same people.
To get the most out of your electronic devices, you need a strong internet connection and a protected home Wi-Fi network. You need high-speed internet from Star. Star has the fastest, most affordable high-speed internet service available for all your devices. We have no long-term contracts or high-pressure sales. Our service speaks for itself, and switching is hassle-free. We take care of everything with free installation from a local company. High-speed internet from Star. Internet at the speed of life.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Got a lot going on today, and we're talking about an organization that not only is thriving, but growing, expanding. The future looks tremendous. We're talking with Johnny Pridgen, we're talking with Dr. Paul Viser, we're talking about Sampson Partners. We've done a history check, we've done where we are check. We are now going into talking about some of the assistance you need with people with certain skill sets. One of those you mentioned was dealing with furniture and movement of furniture. And Johnny, you just talked about the volume of furniture and nice pieces of furniture that maybe need dusting off at estates and others that they're just donating.
Yeah, when I mentioned furniture, I know people think of heavy furniture. We actually are trying to avoid handling any item of furniture that cannot easily be carried by two people. It's very difficult to handle a full-size chest freezer. For one thing, you have to verify that it actually works, and that gets messy. We want to deal with things that can easily be lifted. And that's what, anyway. Despite that, though, we are going to need a box truck with a lift gate. Now, we're not eager to do that until we really just have to have it. Right now, we're trying to get along without it. Johnny and I are very conservative financially, and that's part of the reason that this organization is so successful, and we're going to continue to be conservative financially. But at some point, the van is going to have to give way to a medium-sized box truck, and then it'll make movement of furniture much easier. Clearly, picking up furniture is going to be a key component of our business model. People, that's what they do. They want to call us up, and 3 days later, they want the furniture gone. And that's part of the logistics that we need from our director of furniture operations when that person is identified and located. But those other things are important too. You know, the internet presence, eBay, Facebook.
A photographer, you mentioned.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. Thank you. We're grateful to have Sabrina Johnson, who's one of the, what do they call them at the college? Shutterbugs, I think, is their group. And
that name has changed over the years, I can assure you.
You can hardly go anywhere in Sampson County, any activity, any social event where Sabrina Johnson is not there taking pictures. And I hesitated to ask her. I figured she had her plate full, but she eagerly said, yes, I'd be happy to do that. And when we call her, she is always happy to help us. And she got for us that magnificent concrete pupper truck. She got that captured for us, and Tyler Baxter got that on video using a drone. I mean, that was the exciting business. And please, by all means,
especially for downtown Clinton, that was huge.
Please go to our Facebook page and look at that video loop. It's
and
about
you just go to Sampson Partners?
Well, the Facebook, the Facebook has the video on it. It's pretty exciting. Now looking, you wanted to look to the future. Sure. Okay, so we hope to be in the building by the end of the year. We hope to have the building paid off by the middle of next year, which is July of 2020. Then we want to bring our buildings up to code, the ones that we currently occupy. And then we look down the road, really just growing. I mean, we will have the tools in place with buildings that will be set for the next several decades. And then we just focus on the thrift shop.
And keep that engine running.
Keep that engine running. I mean, it's amazing to me how productive it is. Even with our current square footage, it's just 5,000 square feet right now, and we're crawling all over each other, just begging for a square foot here and a square foot there, and yet it's successful now. What is it going to be when we double our space? I mean, I hesitate to use the word, but I'm going to use it. Transformative.
Yeah.
I mean, this could really be big. I don't want to stick my neck out too much. I don't want to say things that I can't deliver on, but I think this is going to be really, really big. 2 or 3 years from now, when we're in full stride, I think it's going to be amazing what we're doing.
And there may be that point in time that you have to have, you know, certain specific people with skill sets that you do have to pay for.
Yes, that's right.
I think that would be an honest observation from my seat here.
That's a good point.
At some point, yes, definitely. You know.
But when you start expanding the thought process, is there anything that you look at now? And you mentioned a couple of things, for example, with furniture. Obviously, you don't want things that don't work and blah blah blah. But is there things that you maybe want folks to understand that you don't necessarily want to go in that direction with products or items or services? I mean, you don't want to get out and start selling produce or nothing or that nature, I'm sure. But, you know, is there anything, you know, because folks will call you, I'm sure you've got these calls. You can have this if you'll come and get it. You say, now, can you describe what? I understand the word, but what does this thing look like? I mean, you have to be careful about that, don't you?
You certainly do, JW. One of the things that we do, as Doc said, we got a number to call in and we take that information. Now, we actually have gone to the house and go and take pictures of the items and check and make sure they are of such quality, because we don't want, like you said earlier, becoming a dumping ground to take stuff to, and we have taken stuff because we've gotten some old TVs and things of that way, but we know how to dispose of those things. We try to minimize that because the main thing we're looking for is good products. Now, in those products, we're also going to be looking at, and hopefully in the furniture operation, volunteers that maybe want to come down and help repair some of those items. They're in excellent condition, just a broken leg or a leg that's off or whatever to come in, because we were privileged to go to one restore over in Fayetteville, and they have an individual over there that, hey, that's what he volunteers his time to repair items and so forth. So those are the type of things. Now, we haven't really turned much down because everything, the people have been so supportive in the items that they have. And I can't stress enough as it relates to the clothes, Jada. These are clothes that compete with Walmart, any of the local stores, belts or what they call. Actually, that's where they come from.
Yeah, I was just going to say, a lot of them probably
you know,
do surplus.
Yeah. And that's right. Some of those individual stores provide support by way of, you know, when they have surplus or outdated items, they make a contribution to the crisis center here or to the Sampson Partners, and we're most appreciative of that. Now, one of the other things too is like, how high is the sky, or how far can we go? Yeah. And one of the things we're looking at is right now, I'm a personal shopper of eBay. And I travel all over the world in my little room on my computer and buy the best product at the best price. And this is what we eventually want to, there are a lot of marketplaces out there. And then we can work out like, we won't get like Amazon where we can send the item by a drone, but you never know where we are headed, because right now UPS and all the FedEx and all that can provide that revenue, that distance for us as it relates to getting that product to anyone that want it. And it's just a matter of exposing it on the marketplace. And like Doc said, we have a beautiful website that we're continually try to upgrade to provide that. Facebook provides a lot of information as it relates to the products. We try to push through that way because we've sold product. People see it, come in and buy it, and you know, and that type of stuff. So.
And I know it's been kind of screened, so you know they're not getting something, as we talked about, as just throwaway items.
There you go.
JW, I have to mention First Citizens Bank. I remember back during our last campaign, which I remember leading back in the late 90s, and we raised $85,000 at that time to renovate the buildings that we currently occupy. Well, First Citizens was a big part of that. I remember Bill Norris, who was city exec at the time, and we burned the note after we paid for it. Less than a year we had it paid off, and that was First Citizens Bank. And what do we have now? We have First Citizens Bank.
He said Bill Scott.
Bill Scott. Yeah, Bill Scott has stepped up big, and the foundation, the holding foundation of First Citizens Bank has contributed. But he's also made things go smoothly. I mean, Johnny and I went to Bill's office to get our construction loan, and well, there wasn't much to it. I mean, we were there about 20 minutes, and then Bill made it happen.
He's a good advisor.
Yes.
Oh, he is. He's an excellent advisor, and I think that works well. And I know you've got a number of other folks. I know Star Communications has stepped up and supporting. And this movement, if the trajectory is where you guys think it is, you know, look out. You could have a shop on the moon someday. I don't know. This thing keeps going, but you keep adding quality to it from the people you've got, you know, on your board, from the people you're surrounding yourself with. So the expectation is there, and you know you can fulfill that expectation.
Yeah. One of the things we want to press upon the audience that's looking here, in our model, it is to generate funds from really coming in from Sampson County to help Sampsonians here in the local organization. And we can't thank the people enough, one, for their donations, two, just like Doc was saying, people have stepped up in our contributions toward our capital campaign. Now we've got a number of churches. We went back to our original roots as to the churches to get them involved and get them aware of the situation, what's going on. And of course we can start, like I say, Star Vision, and then of course the local newspaper has provided some excellent coverage, because that's what we're trying to do, let people know what's going on, what's available here in Sampson County, us working together, and that's mainly what it is, working together, all the organizations coming together, and we've been most cooperative in that regard as to try to let them know we're available, because we also provide something that a lot of them really need, and that is cash. Okay.
And that makes a huge difference. So we got about 30 seconds here. If there's some items you need to touch on right quick, Paul, just hit those. We know we need a furniture guy for logistics, that's for sure. So we're going to keep putting
Actually, I've touched on the things. You mentioned speed. I have to tell you that it's been breathtaking.
Yes.
Since July of 18 to the current time, it has been breathtaking, the speed of change.
Well, and I want to say from here, and having had a conversation with you before, and of course we're fortunate now that Johnny could be here, it's kind of one of those things, again, a no-brainer. This helps everybody. It helps the people that are willing to donate, and it works good for this wonderful community we live in. I want to thank you guys for being with us.
Thank you so much.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us today, and I hope that you will follow up and call these folks and talk to them. And we look forward to seeing you again next week on the radio. May God bless.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of We Should Know with host J.W. Simmons. If you have a question, comment, or suggestion regarding this or any episode, please send your emails to weshouldknowedu@gmail.com. And remember to tune in every Tuesday at 2:30 for another informative episode of We Should Know.